2 years after the events of the first film, Vaporeon and Flareon have given birth to a daughter named Vaporeon. The second water or fire type fusion. On Vaporeon's christening at sea, Vaporeon's father, King Gyarados, presents Vaporeon with a magic locket that bears her name. This is meant to remind her that part of her will belong to the ocean. The party is interrupted by a Tentacruel's younger sister, her Tentacool, who threatens to have Vaporeon fed to her sidekick pet named Blastoise. Unless Gyarados gives is trying to her as part of her plan to avenge and Tentacruel and take over the ocean. Vaporeon and Flareon and work together to foil Tentacruel's plan, and Gyarados transforms Blastoise into a piranha while Blastoise retains his shapes and, of course, his design. Tentacool escaped, eluding the attempts of King Gyarados' forces to capture and declaring that she will someday exact her revenge on both Vaporeon and Flareon and avenge Tentacruel's death. Fearing this may happen, Vaporeon decides to withhold all knowledge of Vaporeon's mermaid heritage from her until Tentacool is captured. Gyarados tosses the lock into the ocean, and a wall is built to separate the royal castle from the sea for Shiny and Krabby to watch over Vaporeon. 12 years later, Vaporeon remains unaware of her mother's mermaid heritage and is forbidden from going to sea. However, she sneaks out of the castle regularly and swim, and one day finds the locket. Seeing her name on the locket, Vaporeon questions to her mother about it, but Vaporeon continues to forbid her from going out to sea. Frustrated with her mother's refusal to answer her questions, Vaporeon steals the mobile and sails away from home, but is discovered by the wicked Blastoise, who leads her to Tentacool. A desperate Krabby tells Vaporeon and Flareon that Vaporeon went out to sea. While Vaporeon meets Tentacool, who reveals her background is marine and uses the remains of Tentacruel's magic to transform Vaporeon into a normal water Pokemon. Gyarados prepares her search parties and is convinced by both Vaporeon and Flareon to use his trying to transform her Vaporeon back to a water Pokemon in order to help in the search for Vaporeon. Vaporeon searches the sea for her daughter, regretting not sharing her heritage with her, while Vaporeon explores her newfound abilities as a water Pokemon, a strong feeling that she was meant to be part of the ocean. Later, Tentacool tells Vaporeon she can only make the smell permanent if she retrieves Gyarados' Trident. She decides to get the Trident, but during her search, she befriends two Pokemon who are known as Squirtle and Lapras, a transport Pokemon and a turtle Pokemon duo who join her. After Vaporeon steals the Trident, Vaporeon implores her not to give the Tentacool the Trident. Frustrated by Vaporeon's decision to lie to her, Vaporeon instead gives the Trident to Tentacool, who reveals her true intentions and traps Vaporeon in a cave by sealing the entrance with a thick layer of ice. Soon afterward, Tentacool's spell on Vaporeon wears off, causing her to revert to her fire Pokemon self and nearly drown. Luckily, Squirtle and Lapras manage to free her and drag her to shore. Tentacool uses the Trident's magic to lure it over the ocean, rising the surface to glow. But luckily, Wingull, Gyarados, Krabby, and Flareon arrive and a battle ensues again. It's Tentacool and her minions. Vaporeon grabs the train and throws it back to Gyarados, who encases Tentacool in a block of ice which sinks underwater. Vaporeon reunites with her family, and of course, Gyarados offers his granddaughter to become a water Pokemon permanently. Vaporeon instead uses the train to destroy the wall separating her home from the sea, reuniting the fire Pokemon with the water Pokemon. And at last, after all these 12 years, Vaporeon had become a better mother to her daughter.